Hi. This is totally the first time we've ever done this. The WeView review, or the WeView.
Yeah, but not that third option.
Always the
Because
third
it's
option.
too cringy.
The WeView. So if you say it's fun. I'm Emily.
I'm Gabe.
And I'm Nathaniel. And this whole video series is just about, taking a movie or a set of movies
Or a TV show.
And kind of breaking them down and kind of discussing and talking about them. Like, if they're part of a trilogy, like, are they good by themselves, or are they better within a trilogy? Or like, how do these compare if they're a remake? Like, are they better than the original? Kind of fun facts about things, kind of behind the scenes, because a lot of us share different knowledge about different movies here. And then just kind of just a fun time about wherever conversation goes. So as kind of a breakdown of who we all are, my name's Nathaniel, and I graduated with Emily in 1922.
What? Why?
Time has passed.
Yes.
In 2022, we both have film degrees.
Oh, we graduated in 2022? That's crazy. Okay,
Yeah.
I understand why you were going to say 1922 now. It's like, well, okay, continue.
And I'm in the film industry a bit, kind of working on short films and documentaries and reality TV a little bit, and maybe sometimes a feature film. So I'm kind of fairly in the industry. Thus, I acquire a lot of random knowledge about who knows what in movies and TV.
And I am not in the industry, but I do have experience watching TV and movies.
Wow.
Wow. Nice.
But yeah, I'm actually in the field of prosthetics, but we're all friends. So
Anakin needed prosthetics, so they
Yeah.
went to Gabe, and he's like, "Hey, I keep losing limbs. What do I do?"
What do I do?
There you go. A lot. Even Luke had a prosthetic too. I mean, a lot of them
runs
do.
in the family.
Yeah.
Or if they don't have legs, it doesn't.
Oh my gosh. Oh. Yes. My name's Emily, and I graduated in 1922, and with Nathaniel, and I'm currently doing social media and like video photography stuff for a church, and so that's what I'm doing.
Yep. And we all decided that we disliked each other enough to come together and
Make a
talk
podcast.
about a common interest.
Mm-hmm.
If you're wondering how they look so good, it's because they're part of Yoda species. They age really slowly.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Yeah. In about
The
20s
was a
it?
wild era.
Yeah, 1970s. We're like, you know what? We're not aging that well. We need to figure out how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So
in the 70s.
Yep. So then we found George Lucas, and we're like, hey, you have any extra Yoda puppets? So we got like a DNA thing.
Okay, yeah. Continue.
The story's falling apart. Anyway, we have been gifted with
longevity.
Over.
We live on.
Yep.
Okay. So Phantom Menace came out in 1999. It is the first movie that George Lucas directed after directing Star Wars that came out in 1977. And it's like 2.5 hours long. And
a little bit shorter.
2 hours and 29 minutes, potentially. If we could get the stats on the DVD, the actual stats.
I don't know why.
And you call yourself a Star Wars fan. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just play the movie.
Let's just watch the movie right now and find out how long it is.
I don't know, this movie, okay, so I feel like it felt long. It felt like the story, like, held together, though, for most of it. Like, I think the longest scene was probably, like, pod racing, and then maybe the end with the lightsaber fight, which we haven't even gotten to that part.
Yeah.
And that's
probably one of the top 10 coolest scenes in
10,
Star Wars.
Whoa, in Star. Okay, I would say it's like top 3, Because there's that one, and then the one from the third one, because that one's just cool.
Yeah.
Attack
And-
of the Clones kind of just like doesn't. I don't really remember anything from it.
You should, because it's
Is Attack of the Clones your favorite prequel? Well, no, the third
no,
one is.
Revenge of the
Okay.
Sith is, but
Okay.
Attack of the Clones is in my top
9.
3,
Top 3.
top 9.
Okay. Maybe I'll have to watch it again. I think it had the least lightsaber fights in it, so.
But it has the most lightsabers. But we're talking about the Phantom Menace.
Okay. We digress. We can talk about that a separate time. So the story's kind of giving an intro to like Anakin, Padme, Obi-Wan, Yoda, the Council. I would say like Mace Windu was introduced, but like it never departs from like the Council or like.
Yeah, not much.
And Palpatine.
And Palpatine, yeah.
And also, most importantly, Jar Jar Binks.
Oh,
Yeah.
we can yeah. Well, the Jar Jar. We love Jar Jar.
I actually do.
He is less in the. I don't know why I keep wanting to talk about the other ones, but he's in this one the most, right?
Yeah, by far.
Okay.
I
He
think
comes up in. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
He comes up later in the series though. Like he's in Clone Wars.
Yeah, he's on the Clone Wars show, and he's
Very
in 2
minorly.
and 3.
Okay.
Yeah, they definitely cut him back a lot after
Although-
the first one came out.
He definitely had like a significant role even in the second two.
Hmm
Mm-hmm.
Just as far as like instating power in the Palpatine and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is Sith Lord in his true blood.
Mm-hmm. I feel like Anakin was pretty interesting because they set him up well to like for the rest of it, you know, which I know that we're supposed to be like this movie in a vacuum, but I think they did a good job at setting him up of like he obviously has like a connection to his mom, and then just like I feel like even his beef with like Sebulba and stuff, like there was just like he can like they just set him up well.
Yeah, because like Anakin, especially in the Clone Wars, is always up for a challenge and is always up for like competition and stuff.
Mhm.
And I think even young Anakin is like, he's very kind, which he is also in future iterations.
Mhm.
But he's very confident. And he's like, okay, like I know the difference between right and wrong,
Mhm,
at
yeah.
least at this point in the story.
Yeah.
And he wants to help people.
They try to also make him not quite as much his fault for his fall too. Like there was like signs
Mhm.
earlier that they were
Subtle,
showing.
yeah.
You know, like well, I mean, just like the Jedi Council didn't want to train him because they were afraid of that and all that. But so I mean, it kind of adds a little bit more of a layer of complexity to his character in the future.
Obi-Wan too has really. I feel like his character is pretty solid. Like because they talk. He's more of like the rules, and he's like this is what like I need to think
Yeah.
logically and all this stuff, and like this is who he is throughout the entire
Yeah.
like Star Wars franchise.
Obi-Wan's
Yeah.
very logical and very patient and very wise.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even Qui-Gon says he's wiser than he is. Like, wow, okay.
Yeah, and his sarcasm too. I feel like because even at one point he was like, "We picked up another pathetic life form." It's like you can see that throughout the entire franchise. So.
Yeah, Obi-Wan definitely has the strongest arc in this one.
Mhm.
And then probably Padme and Anakin to equal extents.
Yeah, they're probably in it about the same amount too.
Yeah.
I feel like throughout the 3 films, I feel like Obi-Wan's character generally is like you said, he just like he has that bit of sarcasm, but it's just like you kind of root for him the whole time because you know he's put between a rock and a hard place in most every movie, but he is consistently tries to take the moral high ground.
Yeah.
Oh wow, a long just to get to the pun. That was good. That was good. I guess we had Darth Maul introduced too, which Clone Wars doesn't come out till like 2005, right? Like
I feel like more like 7 or 8.
I think like 2008-ish.
Okay, so that's almost like, which I guess spoiler warning, but
For what?
for Darth Maul,
Oh,
because he doesn't even get like a redemption or like
not for a long time.
for like 10 years then. But
It definitely was a fan favorite though in that little bit of appearance he made in the film though.
Yeah.
The double.
I mean, his entrance
lightsaber.
is probably one of the coolest villain entrances,
Mhm.
especially in Star Wars. I think in Star Wars, he might have the coolest entrance,
For any villain in Star Wars ever.
probably.
Okay, the
Ah.
music though is. Go ahead.
What about like you know, the original Darth Vader, you know, just hallway scene?
He just walks through like a hallway though,
Right.
I
right?
know, but he's
Bunch of dudes.
But
Are like,
as in like the first time seeing the villain, well, I mean, you see him a little bit before. Well, okay, I guess it doesn't count as an entrance per
his
se.
first entrance is walking up in a hologram, right? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
So I retract my comment, but
he has
that
one of
scene
the
is iconic.
cooler entrances for a villain.
yeah.
When you guys first watched this, I don't know if you remember, but did you expect Qui-Gon to die? Did you guys? Was there tears? Did we cry?
No. I remember being kind of confused as to why Yoda looked the way he did, because I watched the non-remastered version where he's a puppet, and I had seen him on the cover of Attack of the Clones, and I'm like, why does Yoda look weird? And he doesn't look weird on the Attack of the Clones cover.
Okay. Did you cry? You cried about that?
Yeah, I cried bitterly.
A single tear. Do you remember?
To be frank, I don't remember, but yeah, but you know, and obviously he doesn't show up in any of the original trilogies, so somewhere he had to die off along the way. But
Oh dang, you're brutal. He had to
Somewhere.
die anyway. Have you guys seen Rebels?
yeah,
Yep.
Have you seen the episode where Kenobi kills Maul?
yeah,
Yep.
There's I saw like a behind the scenes thing where he tries to do the same, like he like hits Qui-Gon in the face with his lightsaber,
Mhm.
and he tries to do the same thing on Obi-Wan later, and then Obi-Wan's like, no, I'm gonna
Yep. That was
destroy you.
Yeah. Only a true Star Wars fan can make a scene like that.
That was an awesome scene.
Dave Filoni knows his stuff.
Another cool thing though also is who's the actor that plays Maul again?
Which one?
Maul.
Well, like the voice actor, or like
No,
No.
like the actual
Ray Park. I think.
Ray Park.
yes.
So I know like in the last season of the Clone Wars, they actually did this motion capture technology in the final lightsaber fight with him, which was he is very talented as far as like his
Fight choreography knowledge.
Which I mean shows in the last like what is that, like 20 minutes of the movie?
Yeah.
So.
I mean that was probably my favorite scene.
Yeah, that's a pretty gnarly scene.
So you'd say lightsaber fight at the end is your favorite scene.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite scene?
Favorite scene in Clone Wars or Phantom Menace? Probably the lightsaber scene. I mean, there's stuff. Pod racing's cool, but I honestly like a lot of the stuff with Jar Jar.
Oh my gosh! Okay.
I'm one of those people that actually likes Jar Jar quite a bit.
Okay. I don't even know what to say. My thoughts are gone. Okay. So you'd say like is there just like a really when he's getting like stuck in the tractor beam thing? You're not like outraged with Jar Jar in that moment. You think that's like 10?
I do the scene with him.
Oh my gosh!
I was doing it in theaters. I was.
Okay. The guy next to us who had the lightsaber. I have a lightsaber. I didn't even think about taking it, but I don't know if I would have been. I probably would have been too obnoxious with it. But.
Yeah, this guy, the guy knew how to bring it to the line.
Yeah,
and
I know.
He
yeah.
shone it for like a few seconds, like later on, like and then turned it off. I'm like, that's what you do. You don't be obnoxious.
Yeah, and then having light in the theater like makes it like, and it was pretty bright. So, but yeah, I think that was fun.
One of my least favorite things about Phantom Menace, the super niche thing, but I feel like in the original trilogy, the lightsabers are very like sacred weapon, and when it's ignited in the original series, it means something. For the most part. And it's done very specific times. And I would say that probably if you were a fan of the originals back in the 70s and 80s, and then you wait this long and you finally get to see a lightsaber again with the technology in the 90s.
Mhm.
It was gonna be like, oh, I get to see like when's the lightsaber gonna come out? It's gonna be so cool.
Mhm.
And then the first time you see lightsabers in the movie, like Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon just like turn them on because they hear the explosion. Like, oh, what was that?
Oh.
Like, oh, I guess
Oh, that
we
was
need to go.
lightsaber. Oh, yeah.
And then they turn it off. And I think that would have been really disappointing.
That's a good point, though.
Because I felt that way for Force Awakens. I was like waiting for it. It was a little bit different. I think they did it cooler in Force Awakens as the first lightsaber entrance. Especially with the like Finn's when Finn holds the lightsaber and when Kylo holds the lightsaber. I think they were both done in a slightly cooler way
Yeah.
than Phantom Menace was.
That's a good point. I never really thought about that aspect of the lightsaber. I will say that the lightsabers in Phantom Menace look more like plastic-y toys.
Like the hilts?
Yeah, like I feel like there was like I feel like the weight of the one in like the fourth one or the originals were more like it was more of like a sacred weapon. I guess that's kind of the same deal. But like with the hilts in this one, it was like there was like the giant red button that's like on, off.
Yeah. I mean the technology for making all the lightsabers in post was very different every time.
Yeah.
Because the originals, I think they put a very reflective tape on the lightsaber rod that, and then they would shine a light at it and it would glow.
I think at one point they had like a PVC pipe spinning or like something, maybe not PVC pipe, but like
well, they had metal
spinning.
pipe for the prequels, I think.
Okay.
But for the originals, then they took a colored pen and actually drew on the negatives. I may be wrong with that, but they drew on the film strip every frame.
Oh gosh.
Which is why it jitters.
Oh, okay.
And then the prequels, they don't really flicker as much because they were just a put on effect.
Okay.
And then for the sequels, they actually had lightsabers that turned on and emitted light, which looks way cooler.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And then they added some stuff in post.
I think the coolest lightsaber interpretation is probably Rebels because it has like the
You like that look?
Yeah, like the super skinny. I think it's cool.
It does look kind of cool, but I don't know
how I'd feel about it in live action, but
it looks way different than anything else, which is why I think I don't like it.
Okay. Do you have any strong lightsaber opinions?
I mean, I feel like most all of them are pretty cool.
Okay.
I mean,
okay. We're being nitpicky. We're like the one.
I mean,
I used to have Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan's lightsaber.
From the first one?
Yeah, like episode 1 Obi-Wan lightsaber. I was given them, and then I think I made the worst decision ever in my life and got rid of them.
Did you sell them?
Either I sold them or gave them away or something. I'm like, man, if I had those right now, even just the hilts, I'd be.
Yeah, you can buy just the hilts at Disney, and they're like Ahsoka's hilts were like $250.
Yeah, lightsabers are stupid expensive.
But they look cool, so.
Yeah. I saw that they're for this 25th anniversary thing that's happening right now. They are coming out with some limited edition Darth Maul lightsabers. That are like the hilt's this big and it's like all glossy and shiny. And
I wouldn't even like want to touch it. I'd be like,
like no fingerprints.
Yeah, don't do it.
Gloves only.
Yeah. The lightsaber is definitely a cool part.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point about the introduction of it though, because I've never really thought about that. But I guess that just makes sense.
And also kind of along the lines of the weightiness. I mean, compared to the original trilogy, the fight scenes with the lightsabers are definitely a lot more acrobatic and fast paced than the originals, which in my opinion is a lot more cool.
Yeah.
The fast paced or the slow?
Yeah, the fast paced.
Okay.
Yeah, the step from Obi-Wan and Vader fighting in the original,
just like
Which honestly, if you watch the original and thought that was cool, and then came and watched the prequels, you'd be
blown.
Yeah, that would be insane. I think that's what Rebels did in the fight with Maul and Kenobi. Like they did well. Was it like it was kind of flashy, but then it was like over and like
it's very quick.
Yeah. Okay, this I want to talk about the music because the music is
Hmm.
iconic.
What music? There's no
There was no.
iconic
It was
music in
totally
this
silent the
movie.
entire time. This the music is insane. Like all of the music is it's so good. Like this is the soundtrack that I want for every movie. Well, not this specific one, but like this level of like themes and intensity and like I think that's what makes Maul's entrance so cool because it's like silence and then it's like the choir and
Yeah,
all the things.
probably one of the top 2 coolest pieces of music in Star Wars.
Okay.
Maybe not prettiest,
You'd
but
say
coolest.
Duel of the
Duel of
Fates.
the Fates.
Okay.
And then just like the opening Star
Oh
Wars
yeah.
intro.
I got chills when it like went up. I was like, oh
Mhm.
wow, it's
I
crazy.
love every time that music starts. I get like my enjoyment peak goes to 100 really fast, and then
it
goes down.
Yeah.
But I'm just like pure joy.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
goes
yeah.
back.
I haven't seen a Star Wars movie in theaters since, I guess.
Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
I mean, same. I mean, nothing really went to theaters after that point.
Yeah. Rise of Skywalker came out in 2019.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you feel about the CGI in Menace?
Since I grew up watching this, I had a higher tolerance of bad CGI when I was a child. And so it doesn't bother me as much as I think if a movie came out now and it had this or like this level of CGI. I don't know.
I mean, we kind of grew up in the Polar Express, you know. I didn't think that was that bad, like growing up, but then like, so I mean, compared to like that, I think it's like not bad.
Yeah.
But
I mean, this movie had probably by far the most CGI in any movie at that time.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a fact, I don't think. I don't know. I mean, you could probably look it up.
Every scene probably had
has a lot.
Something, yeah. Especially even like with the scenes on Tatooine with Jar Jar, like.
Yeah, like a lot of stuff. I mean, I say though that it looks really good, and especially for the time, and even the parts that look a little bit dated or maybe super dated, I think it's the reason why it looks like that is like a lot of the scenes are done in the daylight, in broad daylight, whereas like scenes like in Jurassic Park that look way better were done in like darkness and high contrast, where you can hide the limitations of CGI in the day.
It's like the difficulties is mainly lighting and then like the edges, right? Like I feel like
a lot of detail and texture.
Okay.
And what was I going to say in regards to that? Oh, but I did notice, and I also noticed this when I saw Return of the King in theaters when it came out a couple years ago for the re-release, is that you can spot the CGI mistakes a lot better on the big screen.
That is true. I did notice a lot more than I was like, oh, like that. I didn't really care. Like I never cared about that, and then I was like, oh, like I don't care about it now, but I see it.
Yeah,
so.
like you can see like mask cuts, like kind of jittering, or like when Jar Jar steps in like the droppings of whatever it was, like when they're walking to Tatooine. Like if you look at it after he steps in it, it's like kind of like vibrating in place, which I've done that sort of like what do you call it, motion tracking in stuff before, and I know exactly what it looks like, and like,
that's
there it is,
the slight vibration.
Somebody else had the same issue.
At one point, I think it was two people were walking down like a ramp, and you could tell that they were walking down. It was all like CG
on a green screen.
Yeah,
a lot of green screen for those movies. But kudos to ILM for doing as good of a job as they did.
Yeah, because I mean, like now CGI looks great, so it's like
and it's one thing to have like heavy CG characters, like in Lord of the Rings or King Kong, where you have like a lot of real stuff, but also very specific CGI things. But the prequels especially just had so much CGI, a lot of miniatures and a lot of practical effects, like the whole what do you call them? Not separatists, Trade Federation, like all their masks. Like Wookiees have a lot. The clones are 100% CG. Like I don't think there are actually people in costumes for any of the clone stuff in the prequels, which is amazing because some of that, especially Revenge of the Sith, like CG looks amazing for that.
I remember watching in a documentary regarding like the crowd scene like on Tatooine during the pod race. I mean, a lot of that was CGI, but like whenever they do pans of like close-ups of still quite a bit of people. I mean, it was just a lot of people in costume,
Yeah.
but they were actually filming that in the desert though. So I mean, like every couple like minutes or so, they'd have to like stop filming so the people could take off the mask because it was like baking.
Yeah.
Gosh. We can
In a vacuum.
In a vacuum, yes. Like rate this movie, and we'll say like 1 out of 10, and just this movie alone.
I want to say the quality of the movie by itself with nothing else might be like a 6.
Okay.
Which hurts to say, but this is in a vacuum.
Yeah.
If none of Star Wars existed and it was just Phantom Menace, probably a 6.
Which now I feel like this movie would be, if this movie came out now, would it be popular? Because like a lot of movies that come out now, if they aren't successful, everything after it is like scratched or scrapped and all that stuff. I don't know. What do you think, Gabe?
Actually, I just kind of thought like, yeah, what if this was actually the first one of the Star Wars to come out?
Would it have been?
And
Yeah.
it came out right now?
Well, no, not. I mean, like instead of like A New Hope, if this was the first one,
would
like
it have been successful?
I don't know that it would have been as successful as like A New Hope coming out first. Is definitely not on the same like storyline level, I think, as A New Hope. I don't think, but I think like if I were to rate it like with nostalgia, it would be almost like maybe like a 7.5, 8. But like without, I'd say probably like a 6 too.
With nostalgia, I would say it's like an 8 or 9 kind of. But like every scene I watch, I like remember watching it like when like all the times that I was watching, like I can see where I was and like I don't know, like but without nostalgia, I'd probably maybe a 7.
Okay.
And I don't know, like if I hadn't seen it before, because there's parts where like the pod racing is long, but I'm like, I know this is good.
Happens.
Yeah, like I know what's coming. So I don't know if I'd get more bored. Also, this was questioned at one point about like the age difference between like Anakin and Padme. Like there's things that I'm like, things just have to happen a certain way because in this, and so
it has to get there.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
be patient.
So I don't know, like I know Cassie had more questions about because Cassie hasn't seen it before. Like that was her actual first time seeing it.
And she thought it was good, and she liked Jar Jar. She even said, "I think I identify with Jar Jar and Padme." Like I've never heard anybody say that, but I'm like, hey, I will keep you to your word because that is a good quote.
Wow, that explains a lot. But yeah, like I mean, I don't know. I think it's a good movie, and then I think, I don't know, it's just iconic, like in my mind, and like the Phantom Menace, like you.
Yep.
Yeah, I think probably the 3 things that stick out to me the most in the movie are the lightsaber scene, the pod racing scene, and the Jar Jar.
Oh my gosh!
Those are the 3 pinnacle foundational pillars of all of Star Wars.
All of Star Wars.
Yep.
I mean,
bold statement.
I mean, Lucas, I think, I forget the quote exactly, but I think he said like Jar Jar was the key to everything.
Yeah, he says like, that behind the scenes.
Yes.
Oh
he just got
at that
so
point,
much
he
retaliation.
knows that Jar Jar is gonna be a meme, and
no, I think he was pretty like.
He meant it.
Yeah.
He was like,
yeah.
Jar Jar.
Like Jar Jar was important to him, and then he got so much flack for Jar Jar that he's like, okay, we're changing some stuff because I can't deal with that again.
Yeah, I mean, I heard some of the problem was he was kind of surrounded by a bunch of yes men. So like, oh yeah, Jar Jar's like really good. Yeah. Although I also heard though from one perspective, like it might have been a good idea because because he is, at least to most children, I think Jar Jar is a very appealing character.
And Cassie.
And so like what you know, even just like in the theaters, you can hear the kids like around, they're like, oh yeah, Jar Jar, you know. So
Yeah.
like it kind of gets them interested in Star Wars. So I mean, from like a marketing perspective, it might have been like a good idea to kind of include more of a kid friendly
Yeah.
character to, and then like, you know, as they get older, they like some they might
Then
like
they like
some of the
Darth
other
Maul.
ones. Yeah, Darth
Yeah.
Maul.
They're always
Yeah.
gonna like Darth Maul.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
so I mean, I guess from like that perspective, it was a pretty good idea. But
From the storyline,
yeah, from the
character,
yeah,
and from
Yeah.
everything else.
Yeah, fun Easter egg to find is you may have never stayed through the credits,
Oh, yeah.
but if you stay through the credits of The Phantom Menace, you'll be gifted with some very fun audible elements that when I first heard, I was doing the dishes and I started hearing things. I'm like, wait, what's going on? And then I just
happening?
stopped and I'm just like staring totally still. It's worth
That.
staying.
Oh, I'm glad we stayed till the end because you didn't say. I'm glad you didn't say it because I think I asked you. I was like, was there something at the end? You're like, we just have to stay, and I was like, okay. But I'm glad we stayed, and I'm glad I didn't know because I've seen this movie so many times, and I've heard that at the end.
Yep.
Have you stayed through the credits?
I don't know that I actually have watched through the credits.
Through the
to be
entire
fair.
credits.
Yeah.
With this being the beginning of a trilogy, if you were to show people Star Wars for the first time, would you start with this one or would you start with A New Hope? Because you're not, obviously, if you have common sense, you're not going to show them Force Awakens first.
The sequel series first, or the sequel trilogy.
I feel like it would kind of depend on like if they liked sci-fi much to begin with, because like if you could tell they weren't probably gonna want to watch 6 movies altogether, like I'd probably just start with A New Hope. But if you feel like they might be more interested in it, I feel like I just would start with the Phantom Menace, just because you know you can become a little bit more invested in the character of Anakin and just like see his arc and whatnot.
Yeah. I think for me, I would rather show New Hope. Probably because it is a better film. And a little more cheesy, potentially. This one's more goofy, but I think Phantom Menace or A New Hope embodies Star Wars much better. And I mean, it's been around longer, so it's much more iconic. And I think the original trilogy has more reveals, kind of, and more like iconic plot twists, kind of, than the prequels do. So I think I would start with A New Hope and just do those first 3, and then, like you said, if they're really big fans, then just go back and basically watch Star Wars in order of release. I think of when they were all coming out.
Okay, so you would start with the originals.
Yeah, I'd go originals, prequels, sequels.
Okay. I think if this person had no clue what Star Wars was, or like any characters, and we had like 2 days to just watch all 9 of them, I would start at the beginning. But if they're gonna rewatch it, and they've probably like, I think the biggest twist is that Vader is Anakin, or Anakin is Vader. Spoiler warning. But if they didn't have time to find that out in the time that I was able to show them the movies, I would start with Phantom Menace. And then I guess also depending on how, like, I don't know, like if this person's actually gonna watch all 9 movies. If they're not, then I would do 4. But if they're gonna watch all 9 in the span of 2 days, I would start with 1.
Yeah.
Maybe go through Clone Wars in there too, Rogue One, all the other movies. I would actually start with Solo, show them that, and then
Right. Or another fun fact that I don't know the answer to or why. Maybe it's just a coincidence.
A fun question.
For people who really know their John Williams, like how he works and where his mind goes. But Kylo Ren's theme song that plays in the sequel trilogy plays in the Phantom Menace when the Naboo, when the Queen's Naboo ship lands on the Tatooine for the first time. It plays Kylo Ren's theme song.
Do you think that's because she's his grandma, or
I
is this just John Williams taking from?
I think it's probably him like going back and being like, "Hey, I wrote this really kind of a fun piece the first time we went on to tattooing. So maybe it's just like it's a second continuation of a Skywalker theme.
Is the first time we see
Maybe.
Kylo Ren is on Tatooine, right? In the Force
No,
Awakens?
he's on Jakku,
Oh, Jakku.
another desert. Maybe it's
Okay.
just the desert theme song.
Yeah, it's not even Kylo Ren related. Just desert theme
happens to
song.
play. So I think that's probably the end. Like I don't think we have anything else to say. This was our first time recording this sort of setup and the format and everything, so we're still trying to kind of figuring out what it all looks like. But hopefully everybody watching and listening enjoyed it. And we're totally open to feedback.
Yeah.
Like you didn't talk about whatever.
You completely missed this.
Yeah. So every viewer, by that implication, is a complainer, which is not true. We are assuming that
Wow.
everybody is looking. Will click this as soon as it comes out. The whole
And
world
to
is
give
waiting for it.
Yeah, this is what the world is waiting for.
Yeah.
You're so right. But yeah, okay. I think that's. Thank you. Well.
Yeah.
Well. Salutations.
Goodbye. Au revoir.
Cool.
Yep. We done.
Oh no! We made the entire.
Where's the time?
No. Cool. I'm cutting off the audio now.
Good show.